During the coronavirus scare, we discovered just how vital live streaming can be. If you're a pastor or you're a church leader, you understood because so many churches around the country were closed. And today in California, as I record this, restaurants are closed, bars are closed, gyms are closed, more and more organizations are closed. So we need to think more about live streaming. Now, here's the thing. If you're watching this or listening to this after the coronavirus scare, don't think it's not relevant. We should always be tweaking and maximizing our live stream. So today, we're going to talk about a series of things that will help you take your live stream to an entirely different level. Hi, I'm Phil Cooke, and welcome to the Phil Cooke Podcast. You know, I appreciate so much you taking the time to download this, to listen, to watch, and share it with your friends. So many people have responded to us and talked about how much this has benefited them and helped their organization. So please rate us, comment, like us, share it with your friends. It helps us go up and more people get to see it. So you can be a real help, and we are remarkably grateful for everything you do for us. Now, today I want to talk about maximizing your live stream. Now, as we record this today, we're in the middle of the coronavirus, COVID-19. In fact, last night at midnight here in California, restaurants were officially closed, bars were officially closed, gyms, workout centers were officially closed. And of course, this past weekend was the first Sunday a lot of churches were closed. At the time, it was 250 people or more could not gather. They're talking about moving that to 50 or more people. So we're going through a very difficult time. But let me say, just as I said in the teaser, that if you're listening to this after the virus is over, don't think it's not relevant to you, because these techniques for tweaking your live stream are so important for us anytime. We can always stand to communicate better, to share our message with the culture in a much more effective way. So no matter where you're listening to this during the virus era or not, these techniques and tips for maximizing your live stream are important. Now, here's what I did. As I mentioned, Sunday was the first Sunday most churches, well, a lot of churches were closed because of the virus. And so people were really up in their game. I've been talking on my blog at philcooke.com about live streaming. We did a live webcast on Facebook. And had an enormous number of people write us, ask us questions, talking about what should we do for live streaming. And you know, the important thing to know is it doesn't matter how big or how small you are. Anybody can live stream. So I stayed home Sunday since our church was closed. And I started watching different live streams, and I probably watched 15 different churches live stream on Sunday morning. And I started making notes. I'm a media guy. I can't help it. I started making notes, and out of that, I came up with a list of things that I learned watching those live streams that I think will really help you thinking about how they can be more effective, how you can be more effective in your church, your ministry, your conference. Keep in mind, live streaming can be used for so many things today. So I want to go over this list of things that I discovered that I think if you'll make notes and share it with your communications or your media team, it'll really help maximize your live stream experience. Number one, make the live stream easy to find. You'd be amazed at the number of churches I looked at on Sunday where it was incredibly difficult even to find the live stream. Let me tell you, of all times, during this coronavirus era, you need to make your live stream super easy to find. Some websites, I had to go through like 5 or 6 clicks just to get to the page the live stream was on. A couple, it took me forever. And they just had a little bitty thing, watch us live or media. Let me tell you something. This is the moment to splash it big. Make your live stream button huge. Put it on the homepage. Make it the first thing people see, because now of all times, particularly when your doors are closed because of the virus or some other issue, when you can't have live church, boy, I'll tell you what, that live stream is your lifeline. So make it big, make people notice. Number 2, think about sending out a reminder text to people right before it starts. You know, surely people say, I'll watch, but people get caught up in breakfast on Sunday morning. They get caught up getting dressed. Sometimes they're just taking it easy because they're sleeping late, or maybe they want to just read the Bible on their own. So send them a little reminder text that you're about to go live, because you have if you're a church, for instance, you have a lot of mobile numbers for your congregation. So organize it. Send out just a short, quick text to remind people, hey, we're going on live in 15 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever, just to remind people that you're going on. The third thing is give the early viewers something to watch. Now, this is interesting. I've noticed in my experience, an enormous number of people will tune in early. A significant number will tune in up to 30 minutes early. It's a lot of reasons. Some people just want to make sure they're there. They just want to be standing by on the right page and be ready for it. Other people just tune in a little early. So give them something to watch. Don't let them stare at a graphic or stare at a blank screen for those 30 minutes. So here's what I recommend. Have a host, have a campus pastor dedicated to your live stream, or have a really good host. It could be pastor, his wife, another leader in the church, a church member who's extremely articulate on camera, and do a little 20, maybe 15 to 20, 30-minute warm-up show before the live broadcast starts. And it's a great opportunity for sharing church announcements, reminding people about events coming up in the church, maybe a prayer time. There's so many things you could do before the service actually starts. So think in terms of that early audience, people tuning in, give them something to watch. Number 4, when the service does start, consider having the pastor do a little greeting or maybe a prayer to the live stream audience in particular. It does a number of things. Number 1, it makes the live stream audience feel valued. It makes them feel like they're part of the program. And so it's an easy thing to do to have the pastor step off during worship. If it's normal times and you're live streaming a regular service and people are there and worship is going on, it's so easy to have the pastor step off and just look at the camera and welcome the online viewers. He can do it in front of the congregation or privately to the side, but either way, think about opening the live stream with a special welcome to the online audience from the pastor. Number 5, if you're just starting your live stream, in this case, in the coronavirus age, because people can't get in the building because you have to close, I wouldn't recommend, this is not the time to do new worship songs. It's not the time to learn new hymns. Make it easy for people. This is just not a major gospel thing, but I would just recommend that when it comes to music, stick to the familiar, stick to things that people know, songs, hymns, special music, choir numbers, things that people know. Don't get too fancy. This is not the time to teach people new stuff. Number 6, if you don't have a live audience, don't fake it. In other words, one of the things I saw a lot yesterday was that the pastors would be doing a live stream because they had to close their church. And so obviously nobody's in the audience, but they're pretending they are, and they're walking around and looking over here and looking over here. Everybody knows nobody's there. So don't fake it. Your audience is with the camera. Focus there. That's really, really important. That's where the audience is. So don't try to fake it by roaming around and looking over here, looking over there. And let me tell you something. Speaking to a camera takes some practice. I would encourage you, if you're a pastor, ministry leader, teacher, take some time, set up your iPhone, set up a mobile device, and do some practicing, just talking to the camera. Learn to do it. And by the way, little tip, this is free of charge, no extra charge. When you're preaching or teaching to a camera, think of it as being one person. Just have a conversation with a friend. Trust me, there may be hundreds of people or even thousands of people watching, but they're all watching individually, and they think of themselves as one person watching you. So when you talk, that's the magic of the great speakers out there. They speak on camera as if they're talking to one person, and it completely changes their attitude and their approach and their connection with people. It really does make a big difference. All right, number 7, if you do have multiple cameras, if you're a bigger church and you're used to videotaping your services for iMag screens or TV or whatever, if you're doing a live stream, particularly when there's not an audience there, you probably will need to move the camera positions. Think about how we can maximize, get a better shot, move the cameras in. Now, here's the thing to think about. Don't shoot your live stream wide. Never shoot the live stream wide. I mean, a significant number of people, let me get my old mobile device out, my iPhone, a significant number of people are going to watch it here. Now, this is already a small image. Even if they're watching on their iPad, it's a small image. So when you shoot the pastor wide, it's even smaller. And let me tell you, that does not convey power. It doesn't convey authority. It doesn't convey emotion. And yet, time after time after time, yesterday, watching live streams, they're shooting the pastor in wide shots. Even when there's no audience, especially when there's no audience there, they're shooting him in wide shots. So think in terms of people are going to be watching your live stream probably on a small screen. You want to get in here. This is where the emotion is. This is the eyes, the facial expressions. That's where the connection happens. So don't be shooting wide shots and side shots and things like that. It's a live stream. Get in there where the emotion really, really is. That's what's so important. Number 8, speaking of the audience, If you're closed because of the coronavirus or some other issue, and even if you have some staff, I noticed on a few churches that when I watched their live stream, they would have maybe 20, 30, 40 staff members come in just to support the pastor. And that's great because it gives the pastor somebody to preach to. And like I say, preaching to a camera can be hard. But my recommendation is if it's just 20, 30, 40 people supporting the pastor, I wouldn't show the audience. It doesn't help. Don't show the audience. Just think in terms of just showing the pastor. That's really all you need to think about. And besides, I saw a few where they were pulling back and showing wider shots and empty seats. Certainly don't show empty seats. Even if people know that the doors are closed, that's still no reason to show empty seats. There's something that telegraphs to the pastor. Empty seats telegraph to the viewer at home that nobody's coming to hear this guy preach. So you never want to share that subtle message out there. So I wouldn't show people if they're just bringing in a few people. Just let them be there to support the pastor. You don't need to show them. Number 9, highly recommend you use graphics. Now, I've seen studies that were done in the news business where using graphics extensively on television increases people's awareness. It like triples what they remember from that report. So think of what that could do for scriptures, sermon points, other key points of the message. So use graphics. Fire up your ProPresenter if you have a ProPresenter or some other tool that you use for graphics. If it's possible, obviously some churches are going to be really small and they can't do much in the way of graphics. But if you have a ProPresenter, some other graphic tool, put graphics on the screen. Meet with a pastor ahead of time. Find out what those scriptures are. Find out the sermon points. I'm telling you, study after study shows people remember more when it's supported by graphics on the screen. So whether you're doing television, a live stream, short video, if it's a teaching, I really advocate using graphics. Number 10, get a proven, solid online platform. I recommend the Church Online Platform by our friends over at Life Church. They've created this amazing thing. It's called Church Online Platform. Just Google that and you'll find it real easily. And it's just a solid platform. A professional, you can go straight to YouTube, you can go straight to Facebook, and all those are fine. However, a professional platform like Church Online will give you a chat room capability so you can have a pastor or another church member in there talking with people, providing information, giving them links, making recommendations. It has all kind of resources for putting your sermon notes on there. People can download your sermon notes. It has a YouVersion Bible plugged into it. So people, if they don't have a Bible at home, if they're not Christians or they're just new to this, they actually have access to a Bible, or maybe they're traveling on the road somewhere. So there's so many professional things. It allows you to ask questions and you can get responses from people through the platform. So having a professional platform not only gives you better statistics and lets you know who's out there, but number 2, it lets you build a community because you're in a chat room where you're talking to people and you're providing them resources and notes. So think about a really proven online platform to use for your live stream, and I recommend Church Online Platform. There's others out there. I recommend that one. Number 11, don't wait till the end of your webcast to take up an offering. Now, there's going to be mixed feelings about this. Some people feel like on my live stream, I don't want to take up an offering. I think from my perspective, it's a mistake. I think, giving is a vital part of worship. The Bible teaches that giving is part of worship. So why hold that back from people who may really want to be a part of this? And also, I can tell you, chances are, if you're live streaming for a long time, particularly during an era of crisis, like during this coronavirus time, when people aren't gathering at your church, your income's going to go down. Your income's going to go down. So be vital and never forget to give people an opportunity to support what you're doing. Lay out the case of the challenges you're facing and invite people to support what you're doing. My friend Matthew Barnett at Angelus Temple, which is a part of the Dream Center, is actually providing drive-through meals for people to come through there who are struggling to make ends meet. And he needs to raise money for a project like that, and it's an incredibly worthy cause. And if you're involved in something like what Matthew's doing, then I'd encourage you, ask people. But here's the thing. Don't wait till the end of your live stream to take up the offering. You'd be amazed at the number of people that will bail early. That's just the nature of being online. People bail early. So I would think of maybe once, twice, even 3 times. Do it well, be articulate, but to think early on of giving people the opportunity to give and support the work that you're doing. Because so many, when they start to sense that it's over. Hey, people do this in live church. I hate it. It drives me nuts. People that get up and leave before the service is over. But you see it happening in your live congregation. So it's happening far more online. So the minute people start to detect the message is over, they're going to bail and go somewhere else. So always move the offering, giving opportunities up so you're sure to capture as many people as possible. Number 12, make the live stream available 24/7. In other words, make it on demand. I watched a number of live stream services yesterday, and when the service was over, the live stream was done. Went to black. There was nothing. There was no graphic, nothing. It was done, and there was no place I could call it back or watch it again. Let me tell you a secret. You'll have more viewers that watch your live stream outside the live stream time than you ever have watching them during the live stream. People want to call, think of it. People are all over the country. They're in different time zones. A lot of statistics reveal that a significant part of your online audience is international. So they could be watching it days from now. So the point is, as soon as you've gone, as soon as your service is over, make sure your team makes that available to be replayed anytime. And don't just stash it in some archive somewhere. Obviously, you want to put it in an archive, but make that featured message available, easy to find, so they don't have to go. A couple churches I visited, I had to go digging through an archive, and I was never really sure if that was what the sermon was for that Sunday. So just make sure it's available on demand as soon as it's over, because more people will watch later than watch during the live stream. And 13, and I think this is probably the biggest point I want to make, is I want you to learn an incredibly important lesson. Your live stream viewers are a legitimate congregation. They're a legitimate congregation, and we need to start treating them as such. Now, there's a lot of churches out there. I get this. They say, well, we want people to come to the church. I understand. I do too. I'd much prefer live people coming together for fellowship, for community, for relationships. I'd get that, and that's the way it should be. However, no matter what you say, people are going to watch online. There are people that travel. My wife, Kathleen, and I travel extensively. And when we're somewhere in the world on Sunday morning or whenever the time zone fits, we pop open the laptop and we watch our local LA church on the live stream or the on-demand on-demand screening right afterwards. So there's a lot of people, college students that are away in college, business people in your church that are traveling, people that are on vacation or visiting family or friends. There's a million reasons. It's not just this coronavirus thing. There's a million reasons people legitimately want to watch online. And if you don't take that seriously, let me tell you, you're walking away from a significant audience. I've said before on this podcast that I met a pastor in the Midwest last summer that I was speaking at a pastor's conference, and I met this guy that he preaches to 700 people in the pews on Sunday, which is great. But he's got 10,000 people that watch him on his live stream from all over the world. Just think about that for a minute. 10,000 people. So all I'm saying is start being intentional. Start welcoming your live stream audience. Acknowledge your live stream audience. Provide them with resources. Give them a good viewing experience. Get a great professional online platform like the church online platform. Those kind of things will help the audience they'll feel like they're more of a part of a campus. Treat the online viewers like it's a campus. Just like it's a campus. Which means you probably, if you can afford this, have a campus pastor that's ministering to them. One of the things that Life Church does brilliantly in Oklahoma City is as soon as their live stream goes off, as soon as Craig Rochelle, the pastor, is done, they do a worship song to close, and then the campus pastor, the online campus pastor comes in, leads people, and takes over from there. And sometimes he'll teach for a long time because he's their pastor. So think in terms of how do we legitimately and intentionally treat that live stream audience as a campus, as a congregation. Because I'll tell you something, we're not going to go back. I just really believe with all my heart that we are not going to go back. Regardless of your theological position about what church should be, I think the coronavirus, whether you're watching this now while it's going on or whether you're watching it later after it's happened, I think you're going to find we're not going to completely ever go back to the way church was. And that's okay. That's okay. I've studied extensively the early church. For our latest book, Jonathan Bach and I wrote called The Way Back, How Christians Blew Our Credibility and How We Get It Back. You should get that book. I think it'll really help you. But in doing that book, we studied the early church. And the way they did church was dramatically different from the way we do church today. The way they did church in the Victorian era was dramatically different. The way missionaries have done church throughout the last 2,000 years in Asia and Africa, South America, and other places, church evolves. So there's no, one sacred way to do church. And I think the more opportunities we have to bring people into the community, whether it's online or live, let's make it available. People are going to choose. It's not up to us to say, don't come to my church because I'm not willing to go online. That's ridiculous. So I've done this special report, by the way. Let me read this. I've done a special report. It's at cookmediagroup.com/streaming. That has a lot of this information, but it also has other reports. Our friends at Life Church in Oklahoma City put together a fabulous link that'll walk you through step by step how to go online if you've never done it before, or if you're new to it, and how to get that church online platform going. And I've got other resources. Wheaton College had a brilliant resource. If you're watching this during the COVID-19 thing, they've got a whole deal about how to navigate the coronavirus. And there's other things on there, but mostly it's a special report about the things you need to think about in terms of live streaming and making it more effectively. So cookmediagroup.com/streaming. That's Cook with an E, by the way, cookmediagroup.com/streaming. Now, let me say this. For those of you still who are skeptical, let me just say one last thing. And I do get a lot of emails from pastors who say, I'm only preaching to a handful of people. I just don't think live streaming is for me. Let me give you this email I got. Actually, this morning. I got this email this morning. He said, Phil, we don't have online service. We've never done an online service. He said, we're a church of less than 200 people, and we have 2 services because our building is so small, we can't fit them all together. He said, however, we have a teenager in our church, a young girl who has Lyme disease, and she's struggling with her immunity. And because of this COVID, virus, because of the coronavirus thing, he said, she can't come to church. She can't go out. And so her mom called and said, would you guys mind live streaming your service so my teenage daughter who has Lyme disease could watch from home? And he said, Phil, I'm technologically challenged, so I had no clue how to do it. So I went to my daughter. And he said, my daughter created a Facebook site, a Facebook live webcast, and did it through that, just through her iPhone. And the girl got to see it. And he said, to our shock, we had many, many more people watching as well. So we basically said, hey, I'm sold. He said it was so cool to hear that not only did this teenage girl get ministered to and was able to enjoy our church community on Sunday, but we discovered a bunch of other people were watching as well. So I don't care how small you are. If you've got an iPhone, if you've got an iPad, if you've got a mobile device, you can do it through Facebook. It's easy. It's simple. You can do it through YouTube. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. And let me tell you, you're opening yourself up to becoming a much, much bigger ministry and impacting so many more people. Tweak the live stream. We should never stop thinking about how, in this digital world, we can connect with more and more people through your church, through your ministry, through your conference, or just through your random teaching. Whatever it is, we can use live streaming in a much more effective way. So stay tuned to this podcast. Go to my blog at philcooke.com, philcooke.com. I'm writing about this stuff. I'm talking about these things. And please, as I said, share it with people. You know pastors. You know ministry leaders out there. You know people that are concerned about this, that need to hear this information. So please share it. Recommend it to a friend. Comment. I think it would be so helpful if more and more pastors and church leaders and ministry leaders, conference planners, if more and more of those guys could learn these simple techniques that would dramatically increase the effectiveness and maximize their live stream experience. Thanks for watching. Like us, share it. We appreciate you. We love you. We thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.